Hello, 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 and welcome to the Drag Race RuCap here on Reality TV RHAPups. We're back, baby. It was not that long of an off season. We finished regular season 15, and we are now back here with All Stars season 8. I'm your host, Liana Boraas, and today we're going to break down the premiere, which is 2 episodes airing on Paramount Plus, as well as 2 Untucked. It was a ton of Drag Race content. Don't worry, we're going to get into all of our feelings on the cast, the season so far, some predictions, as well as everything from these individual episodes. So first, let me welcome in our fabulous panel who's here with us today, Aman Adwin. Aman, how are you?
I am great, feeling refreshed. It was a short break, but I'm ready for All Stars 8. And all of the queens that we got to see come back for their second or sometimes third chance at it. So yeah, I'm feeling good. Feeling good.
Yes. Oh man. Yeah. This is such a wackadoo cast. And I think a lot of us felt that from the initial announcement. So I'm so
Mm-hmm.
excited to hear all of your thoughts. And we're not alone. It's not just Aman and I. We have Beth Dixon with us today too. Beth, how are you?
I am doing so well. I love this cast. I'm obsessed with this cast. Lots of people I've been wanting to see come back for a long time. Some people who I'm excited to see how they've grown, and some people who I've hoped have never changed because of their untucked ways. And that is what I'm looking forward to the most.
Yes. Oh my gosh. All right. So if you have not watched these first 2 episodes, this is not a preview podcast. We are going to be talking about episodes 1 and 2. So there are full spoilers, but we are going to give our thoughts, big picture on the cast, the season so far, as I mentioned. So unfortunately, in these 2 episodes, we did lose Monica Beverly Hills and Nisha Lopez. Although I'm not going to lie, I didn't see people super high on them going into the season. So I don't know if this was like necessarily too surprising first boots, Beth.
No, it's not surprising, unfortunately. I will say this though, and I think that you have Naisha who's hosting the Roscoe's show and has been doing so for a couple years now. And I really think that it's good for her to get a little bit more exposure. Like obviously her hosting gigs have been getting more and more, prestigious. And it's good to see her come back to Drag Race. I know that we'll get into the twist here in a second, but I have a feeling she's going to be crushing that Fame Games look competition essentially. With Monica Beverly Hills, I'm going to be 1,000%. I think it was just her insecurities that got to her, because even though it was a quote unquote bodysuit kind of swimsuit with some fringe on it and such, it was gorgeous. And I think that if she just had a little bit more to sell in both the girl group and the runway, I think that, she would have been a fun contender. I don't know if she would have been a contender for the crown. And maybe that's shady for me to say, but I do think that, I hope that this still elevates her platform, and I'm happy that we're going to still see a little bit of her every week.
Aman, yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I was sad to see Naisha go. Season 8, it was the first season that I ever watched live. I started watching season 7, and then after it aired on Hulu, and then I started, catching up to Drag Race during season 8. And I always kind of felt bad for Naisha for going home so early, because she was always, I don't know if it was just like the beauty as she likes to proclaim half the time, but I always got the feeling that there was so much more of her to show. So I was so happy to see that she got the gig at Roscoe's and started hosting the viewing parties. It was nice to see her back in the community, and because she's a former Miss Continental and a runner-up from Mr. Continental. So the girl, is good at competing, but Drag Race obviously is a separate game and it has its own types of rules. But I was very much looking forward to seeing her come back and, give us all that she wanted to give us that she wasn't able to back in season 8. And so for her to go home so early again just felt like it was such a letdown. But I we'll talk about it a little bit more later. But I think they're really, I think the one thing that I really do like about this, even though I am the self-proclaimed contrarian on this show, where I'd never want the front runners to ever win, even though there are some beginning signs of, okay, these people are probably going to make it to the top 4. The eliminations so far have been fair. So it's
yeah.
there really isn't much that you can say. So yeah, I was sad to see Nisha go. Monica Beverly Hills, I was excited to see her back, being one of the first trans open people on the show. And to just see her come back and like really be in her full womanhood and, be able to express that and show us what she's been up to for the past couple of years. It was sad to see her go as well. But I feel like I feel like just like Drag Race is not for all drag queens, and that doesn't make them any less of a good performer or a good entertainer. It's just, like I said, Drag Race has its own set of rules, its own set of like systems, and sometimes not all drag queens really fit into that box, and it's okay. So
I think I felt, so as I mentioned, there was sort of a general consensus, I felt like, for some of the queens this season. I mean, it definitely felt a little bit up in the air in terms of, what's going to happen, because and maybe this is just because we're coming off of all winners where we had, these queens who were all top tier. Not saying that the queens this season aren't, but it definitely feels like a little bit more of a hodgepodge. You've got more queens that went home within the first month of their season of the show than I think we've ever seen before on an All-Stars season. And so for that reason, it was kind of like, okay, I didn't even know where to put the bar when I was thinking about what this season was going to be like. I think we got 2 totally different episodes with a girl group performance and then a comedy challenge. And I would echo what you both have said so far, Aman. I do think that the eliminations have been fair. I think that in terms of, my expectations of Monica Beverly Hills and Naysha Lopez, I didn't expect them to particularly do well, just because, as Aman, you said, like, Drag Race is not for every drag performer. That doesn't it does invalidate your drag. But even watching these episodes, I was like, no, wait, don't send them home. But who do I send home? I don't know. Like, I was so surprised my reaction to Monica Beverly Hills. I was like, first of all, loved all of her looks that she had presented. Okay, maybe not like, oh my gosh, blow me away, amazing. But I love them. I thought they were super cute. But she was just, as Beth said, clearly in her head. And I think that that's why she ended up getting eliminated. And then Naysha, I don't know, maybe they'll bring her back. Who knows?
Yeah.
Could she be the first queen to be eliminated and come back on the same season twice?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I mean, look, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the twist. So All-Star rules are in effect for this season. Nothing's changed there. We have a lip sync assassin come in to face off against the top contender each week. And then either the queen who is in the competition gets to send someone of their choosing home, of the bottom 2, of course, determined by RuPaul, or the lip sync assassin sends home the group consensus for the rest of the girls who vote to eliminate someone. The twist, which I wouldn't really call it a twist. It's more like an extra prize. Is that the eliminated queens have the opportunity to show off the looks that they would have worn on the runway, which I think no one's mad. I mean, who's mad at this idea? We already talk about how queens put in so much effort to prepare these looks for the show because they have the criteria, or they have all of the categories beforehand. So they're already making these looks. Why not give them the opportunity to show it off? And some queens have already done that on social media. And now we're just sort of formalizing the process with a cash prize along with that as well. But it was interesting. They kept, like, RuPaul mentioned this twist and all of the details like multiple times in these episodes. And one of the other things was like, you can post whatever the queens choose to post on social media outside of what is on the show is up to their discretion. And that kept getting like repeated over and over. So I don't know what to make of all of that, but I think ultimately we're happy here with this twist.
I think that especially for going back to like kind of the cast makeup, in this particular cast, there are going to be people who clearly have less followers than other people. And what I like the most is that, yes, All-Stars is more social strategy than other things, but it's still a talent competition. And so what I like is that, similar to last year with All Winners, how we got to see them throughout the entirety of the season. And I think that there was a lot of really good feedback from that. I don't think we need that all the time for all stars, but having just a little something that just says, hey, some of these queens exist. They need your support. And they, they're performing and doing these things. Like, I think this is just a great opportunity to give these queens who may be earlier outs in their season and maybe early outs in this one, just an opportunity to continue to grow their platform. So kudos, because if you're going to be kind of the pinnacle of drag mainstream culture. I love these producing decisions that uplift the talent portion of it in a way that isn't necessarily going to actually impact the competition. So I love it.
I think as the show gets more and more popular and more eyes on it, and I think that the producers and RuPaul as well just sort of like begin to understand, like, you're asking a lot of these people to come on your show. Like, maybe back in the earlier seasons it wasn't that crazy, people kind of just, I mean, like they said, like I think it was Jessica Wilde that said on one of the episodes, like, we were kind of just competing to see who had the best dress from Forever 21 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So like, but now, like, they want these queens to be elevated in everything that they do. It's a lot of money. They have to get designers, they have to get just so much. If they're doing it themselves, they have to buy all the materials to make for their looks and all that. Like, it takes a lot of money to get on a Drag Race. That little $100,000, now $200,000, probably gets eaten up by all of the pre-competition costs. So I think it's great that they're beginning to acknowledge that. And yes, like, I am all for, like, send those bitches home, like, get them out of here. Like, I want this to remain the cutthroat competition that it is. But if we want to, like, toss a bone to these queens and to all the people that helped me get on the show and make all these looks and make sure that we showcase that, I think that that's great. I mean, because they were already doing it anyway. You know what I mean? They would, all the eliminated queens would show their stuff online. Why not, like, make that a part of your show and, like, give, absorb that piece of the culture into the show and showcase all that stuff. So I think it's great.
Absolutely.
I wonder if that means that they just had to, like, they just choose a filming day where they just wore all the looks and just, like, walked down the runway, because I doubt that Monica Beverly Hills is, like, trapped in some hotel room just waiting to walk the runway every week. Like
with the queens that are still competing, they just send her out there.
See, I was thinking that I wonder if they brought her back the next day and was like, we're going to give you a few hours to, like, do all of your looks and do the runway. Okay, get off, change your makeup, change your hair, Mimi, change your costume, change it around, go back on the stage.
Change it around.
But yeah. Also, just like a side note, Aman mentioned, with like the prize money and that. I mean, this has been a conversation for a long time, is that Drag Race, whether we like it or not, has kind of defined drag for so many people, even though it's a very small portion of the actual drag community. And with that, every single season, it's bigger outfits, more expensive, this, that, the other thing, because the queens are building off of what they've seen before. So it's kind of like a snake eating its own tail, in the sense that it's like, we got to have things more expensive than we did before. And I think that what will be an important reminder for us is that, like, I even caught myself, and I know we'll say some of this later, is that there are some queens who I know don't have the money or the platform or the funds, and it's kind of reflected a little bit in their runways. And I had to take a step back to be like, yes, it's all stars, but I don't necessarily, as a viewer, want people going into debt just because they're, like, on this TV show. So I have to sometimes be like, okay, I'm going to tone down my expectations a little bit, especially coming off the heels of an all-winner season where it was like, I'm sorry, if you're an all-winner returning for that, maybe you should go into debt a little bit. But the funny side note, though, that I had about that is Bob posting, like, I think it was a TikTok or whatever, where it's just like the clown filter over his face. He's like, me watching somebody win 100,000, or RuPaul gives someone $100,000 for spelling a word right on lingo. And it's just like... And I was like, I mean, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
So I just, like, the idea that the $100,000, that even $200,000 is, like, you think about how much people. It's not like when you go on Big Brother that you're like, oh well, I just won. What is it now? 750,000 used to be 500,000. But it's just like, yeah, you were in a house for 90, 100 days or so. That's obviously tough, and there's all these different strategy parts to it. But it's also, like, not what you do professionally either. So you're not, like, going into debt necessarily. Some people probably do, but
it's like a little bit like it's how you justify paying waiters less because they're going to earn tips. It's like, look, you get exposure from the show, so you'll be booking gigs after this. That's your real money.
Yeah.
Oh,
and they probably, like with Drag Race Live and everything in Las Vegas, like, they probably figure, you'll make a lot of money. And to be fair, quite a lot of them do make you can once you're on Drag Race, you become a Ru girl. You can start asking for a lot more than you could before. So they do make it back, but at the same time, it's like,
but
girl,
it's a small portion of the queens, though. Let's be honest.
Exactly, right.
I mean, you might have like your season tour where they're going to try to pick some people, and I'm just going to use these people as examples. I have no idea. This is not an actual indication of their career, disclaimer. But like, I'm going to be shocked if like next year, Robin Fierce is on a tour, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I think that there's a lot of people that when they're eliminated, Robin's a great example where we said, well, I think that this would be a good first step for her. And if she comes back on All Stars, hopefully, we have a sure sense of her and that kind of thing on the show. It'd be great. We always say that, but it'd be great to, have some of these spots taken. So again, just going back, great twist, quote unquote twist. Like the idea.
Yeah. Yeah, the Queen of the Fame Games, I believe, is the official title that you win, along with $50,000. Okay, let's start getting into some of the meat and potatoes of these episodes. So, Aman, first, I just want to get your thoughts. We had 2 episodes, a deviation from what we've seen in previous All-Star seasons, where the very first episode is actually a girl group challenge. We don't have the talent show. We're going to a girl group challenge, and then
no reading challenge either for the mini challenge.
Right. Exactly. Yes. We got a mini challenge, but it was the fashion extravaganza 2 looks challenge. No mini challenge in the second episode, at least that was aired. And we got a SNL. It feels weird to call it a parody because it's not a parody, but it's like an SNL style sketch show for the girls. So we covered a lot of ground in these first 2 episodes.
Yep. Yeah, I had a good time. I really appreciated seeing the girls get a chance to like showcase their looks in the first challenge of Famous Now, Famous Then. That was a lot of fun. And like I said, the cast is sort of hodgepodge at first glance, but then we start thinking about it. Quite a few of the people on this cast are were front runners. Some of them were top 2, some of them were like top 5, top 6 of their season, and then you throw in a couple of wild cards that were early outs like Kahana or Naysha. So it was fun to see a lot of these queens come back. I was very excited to see Kahana Montrese come back, mainly because I had a bit of a crush on her, back in season 11. But yeah, it was nice. It was both of these episodes seemed to really showcase just how much so many of them wanted to be here. Like a lot of them are really, really hungry for it. And I love to see that kind of passion because it makes for good TV, and it makes me know that this means something to you. So I'm so happy to see James Mansfield back. Like I'll never forget watching season 9, the premiere. I watched it the day after because I think I was out that Friday or whatever, and because that was when they at first moved to Fridays, I think. And I watched it Saturday morning with my roommates and a few people that we had over, and I remember being so like heartbroken that she went home because I feel like she just has so much to give. And everyone was like, "Girl, she's like nothing," and I was like, "No, like James Man, I see it, and then I followed her on Instagram, and I subscribed to her YouTube channel, and I watched a lot of her videos. She had like educational drag videos and everything. I was like, I really love James, and now she's back. I was like, yes, like in your fucking faces, bitches. So like, I'm really happy to see her back.
I am loving seeing James back. I am obviously really excited for my upstate New York queens, Kasha Davis and Darian Lake. They're like my local queens, quote unquote. Those were the people I would travel 2.5 hours to go see at Rain in Syracuse. So like these are, they're great. They hosted the Salt Lake, or the Salt City, because that Syracuse is the Salt City, drag competition, and they hosted it, and it was so much fun. I have videos of it. So I'm really, really excited to see them, and just any exposure I get to see them, I'm really excited about. I love Heidi. I love Jessica. Like Jessica Wilde, people. We've been begging to have Jessica Wilde on All Stars since All Stars 2. Like this is exciting. So I'm really, really excited for this cast. There's unlike some of the glow ups from people who have been on not so like too long ago, like, oh my gosh, like Kahana, like really, really stepping it up. And Candy and Lala Ree, and like, oh my gosh, like it's just such a great cast. I'm really here for it.
I had mixed impressions when it was initially
Sure.
announced. It felt like someone had just chosen queens out of a bag and was like, okay, cast of all stars is, but I'm happy to be eating my words, because after the second episode, I really felt like, okay, I'm here. I'm in this. I'm ready to go. I'm so excited to see what some of these queens are going to pull out of their hats, because I am now invested in what initially I was very nervous about. And for me, the first episode kind of confirms maybe some of those nerves with all of the choreography. And I was like, what am I watching? Like, this is not good. Oh no, what season are we in for? But then when I went back and I really thought about the looks, I think that a lot of the looks were really strong. The comedy challenge, I don't think that anybody did like really bad, except for maybe Nisha. But it really felt like, okay, I'm sort of settling in now to what this cast is going to look like after coming off of what I think was a really strong season 15, coming off of All Stars, All Winners. I'm here for it. And I'm actually super excited about the season, which I could not say when I was starting those first episodes. So I'm very thankful to now be in this place where I think we're going to get a lot of drama too, in addition to a lot of really strong performances. So for that, I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Alexis Michelle and Candy are I just am waiting for something to happen between them. I'm just waiting because that's the other thing. I am an unapologetic Alexis Michelle's fan. I love these like theater child, like who's in a grown body. I don't know why. I think it's so entertaining to me. I think she's absolutely gorgeous. She's one of my all-time favorite like paints. Like I love the way she paints her face. I think she's gorgeous. But there's just like there's something a little delusional that I love about her. In the same way that it's not the same as Valentina. Valentina is a very different delusion, but there's that delusion factor that I can't help but buy into. And I know I'm in the minority with it, which is why I buy into it even more. So I already can sense that like, I'm loving that Candy's being like, okay, I'm going to be like very, you know, she's going to be true to herself, but she's also like, I don't have Tamisha here. Like, this is helping me.
No,
like,
yeah, you can tell that she's trying
really hard. And I can, the fact that Alexis Michelle in the first Untucked takes a moment to just cry for no reason is just amazing. God. I know that's going to bubble up. Like, I can sense this, and I can't wait.
I really thought that she was like gonna have like, you know, something of import to say. And the way that she really just turned that entire thing around to be all about her, like I thought maybe it was, I thought for a second I was like, oh no, they're just editing it to make it seem worse than it is. Like, but no, like the camera there was no cuts. It was just like, I just could not believe that I was like, where is the self-awareness right now? Like I was like, this is
none.
This is the same you, and it's been like how many years? Like,
so good,
so good.
Like, and like, okay, so yeah, this was from, I would say, Untucked overall pretty uneventful, except for this moment, which was just already super iconic. Speaking of iconic, the quotes they chose for the intro to Untucked are like garbage this year. I don't even remember that. Anyway, side note. So Monica Beverly Hills is like crying about how bad she wants to be here and how she has so much more show, dealing with the insecurities. I have nothing to go back to, blah, like all of this. And then all of a sudden, as you said, Alexis just starts crying. But I think for me, what really made me laugh was all of the other queens' reactions. Jessica Wilde's given the side eye. Miss Kasha Davis is like, like she's like, girl. But like the reaction, that was really what made it.
And the best part is Alexis is not even looking up to see them, because if she did, I know she'd be like, oh, the best acting is reacting, and I would react to this and being like, anyway, it's not about me or whatever. But she was fully in the tissues, head down, and like, I love that Naisha is like, I guess I'll leave my best friend and consoling her, and I'll come over and console you now for literally no reason.
Like, And I'm not, I mean, look, again, like feel your emotions, go for it.
Yeah.
But also there's like a time and a place to really kind of like let that
Exactly.
out, you know?
Exactly.
And especially because Alexis was crying about like how she was going to be received here. And I was like,
Mhm.
you just started. Like,
Yeah.
what are you even reacting to in the first place?
Do you
It's not
also
like you
not think-
won the challenge. So
do you also
Right.
not see that what you're doing now is going to make you received in a way you
Yeah.
Yeah.
want to be?
It was
Like,
really funny.
I just
I mean,
love.
I'm
she
so
I mean
excited.
she definitely, you know, she you know, to give her a little bit of grace. I mean, she did go through some shit after season 9. Like, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of the queens did, especially with the whole like Valentina mess of it all. Like,
Yeah.
like she was attacked and all that. But like, girl, like Liana just said, like there's a right now is probably not the time to talk about that. Like hopefully you'll have an entire season's worth of Untucked to like really, you know, get into those moments. But don't do it right now where there are two queens that are
Great.
fighting for their lives and you are literally sucking all of the air out of the room talking about how you're going to be perceived, and like you have no reason at this point to be perceived anything but positively. And
Right.
you're like,
I just one last note because I just think it'll be really fun.
it's just so wild.
She so clearly to me has been like, how do I ensure that I'll stick around from a producing standpoint? Number one, make things about me when they're not. Number two, tell in a confessional that I have a crush on Lala Ree. Okay, there we go. All right.
I was like, okay.
Creating storylines.
Creating storylines here. And then being like, oh, I'm sorry, Jessica. Did you want it to be a Kai Kai? And like in the second Untucked, like I just love, like I know that I'm so hypocritical and hypocritical, not hypocritical. I hate when people self-produce on like any show. I'm like, just give us but the thing is I actually think this is who she is, if that makes sense. So like I'm here for that.
But this is also consistent. I mean, remember, like she was the producer in season 9, right? Like Alexis Michelle produces the show. So this is not outside what we're used to. And I think that this is what got me sort of re-hyped for watching these contestants of being like, oh yes, okay, this is what Alexis is going to bring to the show. Oh yes, like, you know, so because there were the people like Jessica and Jimbo that I'm like, okay, like I'm excited to see you, and then to see like Lala Ree and Heidi and Alexis and everybody back of just like, okay, yeah, this is going to be chaotic. I can't wait.
It's a chaotic personality season.
Totally.
And that's what I'm really excited about. I mean, I think that a couple years ago, we all would have been like huffing and hawing that it's like, this is not what's considered all stars or whatever. But I think that like, it just means like returning season. You know?
All stars is second or third chances, right? That's just
additional chances season.
It's in the additional not the additional chances season. Oh my gosh, that's so true. Okay, let's start talking about some of these individual episodes. We're gonna start with episode 1. So this is where we had the mini challenge, which was the fashion extravaganza, famous then, famous now, and the maxi challenge was performing versions of Money, Success, Fame, Glamour by the Fabulous Pop-Tarts, aka now producers of Drag Race. So we're just gonna like shoe in our music. Love that. Okay. And we get 2 different versions. We get a glam rock version and a disco mix version, with the 2 teams being chosen by producers, I assume. They told them, I'm sure, to stand in the line and then just went down it. And so this is really, you know, the girl group challenge, right? So they have to write and record their own verse of the song and then put together a group performance. Aman, what were your feelings on this first episode?
Yeah, I had a good time watching this first episode. It's I was kind of surprised that there wasn't like a choreographer there, but I was like excited to see Heidi get a chance to, you know, flex real quick and be like, well, I did, you know, choreograph the I'm That Bitch for season 12. So, hey, but I did sympathize with some of the detractors in her group saying like, well, if we're supposed to be like this pop rock, like punk rock, excuse me, girl group, then we probably should steer clear of the Fosse-esque type choreography. So it was nice to see like all sorts of like the personalities come together and really try to make this work. I knew that the performances were going to be a lot better than what we saw in rehearsals. Like that's the classic Drag Race misdirect, like show chaos in the rehearsals, and then at the end of it all, it's actually pretty decent. And I feel like the thing that I'm beginning to learn about a lot of these challenges for the girl groups in the choreography is that it doesn't really have to be that crazy choreographically speaking.
Right.
You just have to, because literally everyone has a moment to like showcase their verse, right? So a lot of the attention is going to be on that person for that period of time. So as long as you have the queens that are in the back just doing something in unison, like it's gonna be fine. Like it doesn't have to be a crazy like off the wall like Drag Race Live Vegas show. Just give the girls a little quick 5, 6, 7, 8 and keep it moving. So yeah, I don't know. I would just feel like in my head, I was like wondering what I would do, like if I were ever on Drag Race, and I'd be like, y'all are making this a lot more complicated than it needs to be. Just do a little quick little 2-step and keep it pushing. So
the way I would be exclusively white girl drunk dancing, I'd be like, I'm sorry, you guys do choreography. I'm just gonna like,
I think Darian like did that.
You know what? Props to her for throwing her whole body in with the like the headbangs and such stuff. Because that was the one thing I will say. Like, yes, the choreography was a little bit more Fosse and like stand, pose, do these things, and not so much glam rock. But also, glam rock is hard to choreograph stuff to. Like, the whole point of glam rock was feeling what you felt in the moment and just like expressing that. And like, I think also people were like, it's punk. I'm like, well, it is kind of punk. But when I think of glam rock, I'm thinking of like, you know, David Bowie, which is his own version of that. But you're really just talking about people who glammed up the rock persona, not like it wasn't like, oh, we're so edgy. Like the way that Candy was saying, I was like, yes, but also no. Like, I don't know. I think that's just really hard to choreograph versus disco. Like, yeah, you can choreograph a dance to disco, no problem.
I think of from last season, season 15, the old people challenge, and they had the like punk rock sort of version of that.
The heavy metal one.
Yeah, the heavy metal one. I mean, that's not really like choreographed per se, but they did have staging and, you know, elements of this is a thought out, put together show. So maybe like that was what I was more expecting from the glam rock group of like, I didn't expect them all in a line. For some reason, there was something about them all being in a line that like really, I don't know, mess with my head. Like the weird like wave butt thing. I don't know. That I didn't expect from like okay, I hear what you're saying, Beth, about like, oh, it's glam rock, but it's still rock at the end of the day.
Oh, agreed.
And that's where just the choreo in that manner didn't really make sense. I expected them more spread out, like covering the stage kind of things, more like crossing, that kind of stuff, which again, doesn't have to be complicated. So
I was
that's
also
why
imagining
odd.
Like pantomime playing instruments. Or even,
sure,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like when you're
like
not
that.
the lead singer, I'm going to be the drummer. And okay, and then it's going to be like, I don't know. Like you don't actually have to be giving like realistic, like, oh, okay, is the symbol here? No, but just like, you know, I mean, Dragula does a rock challenge where they like legitimately have to have like the instruments and do all this other stuff. And so
I've seen that.
In the timeout. I have to say this, Landon Sider, who
is that one of the new ones?
Dragula 3. No, well, this was in the third season. I still am so confused about my identity every time I watch Landon Sider perform in the Rock Challenge. It's like, anyway, I think that, you know, I completely agree. I didn't like the choreographed approach. And I don't know if the prompt was you have to have choreography or if it was you could have staging and they just chose to do choreography. I really don't know. But
Yeah, my reaction was like, this is interesting. And by the way, the queens that were in that first group were Kahana, Candy, Naisha, Heidi, Darian Lake, and Alexis. And I think maybe it was also a combination. I was just experiencing whiplash of like, okay, we're not doing a talent show. We're doing girl groups, and they're gonna have bizarre choreo. It's not a Rue song, which like for some reason really just kind of like, but it's always a Rue, again, not that it's bad, it was just like in terms of throwing me off what I think was gonna happen. So that was another thing. And then also the audio mixing too felt bad.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
It
I
was
just couldn't
so
hear
bad.
them.
I couldn't hear the words at all. Like the music was too loud.
I'm glad it's just me.
No, I'm happy you said it because I've been convinced that I'm losing it when it comes to sound editing recently. Like there was something else that we watched or that I just watched recently where I was like, the music is so loud and I can't hear what people are saying. And I just like, are people just not good at this job anymore? Or am I just old?
Okay. I was thinking the same because
you're not old.
I'm having that same memory. Did we watch something together? Was this something we both watched, or did I also watch something separate that had a similar issue of like bad sound mixing?
I literally watched something this week, and I almost feel like I started to tweet about it, and then I didn't, or I did tweet. Maybe I'll tweet. Look at my Twitter.
Okay, let's go look at your old tweets. You don't even put anything out. But yeah, so I think that was just like a little bit like, what am I watching? I think overall, if I'm comparing the two groups, I think I maybe preferred the disco mix a little bit better because of like the core, I don't know, but it just still felt audio mixing issues. Monica Beverly Hills was very clearly awkward. Jimbo can't dance at all, but at least is trying to like have a good time because this was the group with Jessica Wilde, Mrs. Kasha
Right,
Davis.
and that's what I'm saying. Like the judging, like the her for her to go home was like so fair because in the group that she was in, the only real dancers there are Lala and Jessica. All the other girls are kind of like. So it's like if you can't even like stand out in that group, then it's not the best.
Yeah, right, exactly. Because you have Jimbo notoriously is known for like not dancing, not doing choreo. Like even in the rehearsals, Jimbo's just like in the back, like jumping around. Every single time my eye went to Jimbo during the rehearsals because I was like, you are not doing what they're saying, but I don't care because you're just having a good time.
She's lucky she's a pair of tits. That's all I can say.
Seriously, I'm lucky that Rue loves her. James Mansfield, Lala Ree, and yeah, Monica Beverly Hills were that second group. The Glitter Chicks, I think was their official name. I think it was better, but just these first two, I think maybe it was the audio mixing that just really threw me off of these first two. Like,
well, it was hard for me to hear.
An Emmy for sound design or whatever it is.
Oh, I don't remember any of the lyrics because I couldn't hear them.
No, and I had very different tops and bottoms for that group too than what they came up with because I purely went off of, well, I was able to understand this person, so therefore, like that's who I want. So like that's who I was going for. So I thought like for the best person
brunch.
For the brunch. Oh, I love Kasha Davis. I had Jessica is the best for the disco and Candy is the best for the glam rock. Because I was like, okay, they're really in character and I can hear them and they're performing well. Like that was the low bar of of what it was for me. And I feel bad because it's not really the queen's fault if like the mixing's not good. But
right, because ultimately, so I'm just going to list the people that got critiques. So it was Alexis, which was mostly positive. Darian Lake, who does end up in the bottom here. So that was positive and negative. Kahana, all positive. She ends up winning the challenge. James Mansfield, who had both positive and negative. Lala Ree also had positive and negative. So I'm not sure like exactly where those two, if like who was in the top, who was in the bottom there for those. And then Monica Beverly Hills, who had pretty much all negative. And then, obviously, clearly, I think this is just a self-confidence issue. I mean, I can't imagine you were on season 5, you're coming back so many years later and now you're doing this all over again, but also in such a different part of your life. And so I can understand where all of those nerves came from. They came out also on the main stage here when, she does start crying on the runway. I almost kind of feel like there's also a little bit of a nail in a coffin for her because I think they were just like, okay,
I felt so bad in Untucked when she like just started like bawling. You could just tell, oh, like she did not want to be in that situation. But like, yeah, it was a confidence, and we could just see throughout the entire performance where she was just like, she just wasn't there. And if that ever happens, Michelle Visage is going to be the first person to tell you, yeah, when you're nervous, we're nervous. So
yeah, definitely. I think I don't know, maybe I was just so jarred from this episode because I was also trying to figure out like if runways factored into any of this. So the runway theme for this episode was Forever Famous, which really just was your signature drag. Ultimately, once they added the tagline, it was like, and by Forever Famous, we mean whatever you would wear forever because it's your signature drag. We just call it signature drag. It's fine. Because like I would say like Heidi had a super cool look with the Fifth Element look in this episode.
Ruby Rod, super green.
Kahana also, I thought looked very cool. Maybe like that.
Kahana is really, I love it. That's one of the things that excited me the most about the episode is that like this is a girl that went home second, right?
Yeah.
And she is coming back swinging, and she has like this like she had all of this training, I guess you could say, with like being in Drag Race Live Las Vegas. Like, so she's like, and we knew that she was a performer. We knew that she could like do all the flips and tricks and dips back in season 11. Like she was like, doing backflips and round offs and all sorts of stuff during the 2 lip syncs that she had. So we knew that she could perform, but it's just nice to see her come back, not only with being able to do that and harness it and hone it, but also to come back with like poise and like grace and like elevated looks, and to like really have like a surefire confidence of who she is, like who we knew that she had inside of her back then, but it just wasn't coming through. So this is like one of those Drag Race like success stories or comeback stories that like I just really excite me when I'm watching stuff like All Stars. So I'm excited to see what else happens for her.
I got really nervous at first, and it came true a little bit, where the queens who typically win this first challenge, who are queens that we haven't seen for a while or were earlier outs on their season, tend to go home second. And I was like,
when she got put in the bottom,
I was like,
I know.
Oh, no.
I was like, oh, damn.
I was like, thank God. Okay. Now she can just bounce up from here. We'll be good. No, I agree. I think that she's somebody that, I won't lie, season 11 for me is one of my least favorite seasons, and
I love season 11.
I know. So many people are like, Beth, how can you? And I'm like, because I
think you're in the majority. I think a lot of people like talk shit about season 11. I personally love
our good friend Mari loves season 11, and she can't understand why I don't like it. But with that said, I think a lot of the queens on that season in particular were not ready for this competition, but would it be amazing on All Stars. And so she's further proving that if you can have somebody who was literally out second come back and slay it the way that she is, like, I think that, and we've had Raja come back and kill it multiple times now. Like, I think season 11 has some queens that we got to look out for. So
she is like proof for why All Stars exists, and like why it doesn't necessarily need to be like, all top contenders all the time. Like she's a good example of that.
In this episode, she talks about the glow up, both with getting all of her accoutrements done. Like, go on, girl.
I just say, at the risk of like, like I don't want to
continue. Yes, say it.
I think I liked her a little bit better without her face getting done. Like, I think she looks gorgeous. I think that she looks handsome, and like I would still do things with Kahana Montrese, but like, I don't know. Like, I kind of like what she had going on before, and I'm kind of like, I'm not sad about it. Like, do what you need to do. Like, do whatever you need to do to make yourself feel better. Like, I'm all for that. But like, I don't know. PCB's like, oh, like I kind of liked what you had. But
I've had those moments with people, and I don't have a particular thought on Kahana's because I didn't have like a crush like somebody else did on Kahana. But I will say, I mean, there are people that it is like, that's the running joke with All Stars, right? Everybody comes back with
All Star lips, Heidi
filler.
Yes,
exactly. Filler, plastic surgery, Botox, everything, right? And that's why I'm loving even like I love that we're seeing Darian Lake after this incredible transformation that she's had with weight loss, and but also clearly she has a little filler up in her lip as well. I didn't
little
clock that.
something, little tasteful fill.
And I would also, if it's not Botox, I need to know what the hell Kasha Davis is doing and tell me how to do it now before I get older. So
she's sacrificing baby drag queens.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Whatever keeps you young, right? No.
The blood of the youth.
If I may also just quickly something, because she didn't get critiques, and I know that obviously I have a bias, but I thought Kasha Davis did an incredible job of thinking proactively and saying, I'm probably not going to be a really good dancer, so let me have a character that I can play with my lyrics and my dancing. She was always a half beat behind everybody or a half beat in front of everybody. And instead she made the whole character of, I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, yes, that's how you do this. You drag a character up. And I haven't heard somebody connect their lyrics to like their inability to dance. So she had this moment. She's like, I don't dance, I plan things or whatever. Right. And I was just like, there you go. Like good part. So I wanted to give her props there.
I've been super impressed with her so far with what we've seen with the 2 episodes. And a lot of that especially came in the second episode. So let's just close out the lip sync from the first episode, which was Aja was back.
Yes.
And yes, Aman did okay, so we talked about the whole Beyonce fiasco from last season. We got Freakum Dress here. Let's start with you on your thoughts on the lip sync that live up to expectations.
I want to know what's going on with Beyonce's like team, because like you could never see her music on Drag Race before, and now all of a sudden we're getting it all over the place. So I'm like, is the queen finally being like, all right, fine, y'all can have it? I think she's like finally tired, like just take it. Like
fine, I'll get my royalty check.
Yeah, like I'm not mad about it. I think that these were the two to do it, honey. Like Kahana and Aja. Woo! Like it was so close. It was so close. Like I wish that I could have like been in that room in person, because they were just tearing that song up. But I think that they chose the correct winner. I think that Aja sort of just has like this like intensity when she performs that just edged Kahana out just a little bit. And yeah, like it was nice to see Aja come back, not only because it's Aja, but also because she's been kind of vocal about like what's been going on with Drag Race and how, because she comes from the ballhouse scene. And she kind of doesn't like it when there's like so much of ballroom reference on Drag Race without really going deep into it. And I'm like, on one hand, I'm like, well, girl, it's a TV show. Like they're not gonna. Like, it's not that they're borrowing things. Sometimes it gets a little watered down. It happens. It's fine. But it was nice to see her like come and put her money where her mouth is and like really show like, girl, like I'm coming from this area and this is what I'm going to show you. So I was like, okay, shut the hose up real quick. Like I loved it. I thought that they did such a good job.
When she did like the triple spin into the dip and it was so graceful, in my head I had Anitra go ever so gracefully in my head. I was like, it was so good. I felt like Aja put on a really good like drag performance, but I felt like Kahana put on a really good Beyonce performance. And I was like, oh, if I go for Beyonce energy, gotta give it to Kahana. But if I go for like, wasn't expecting this, but it worked so damn well, holy crap, then I have to give it to Aja.
Freakum Dress is such a good song too, because it's like it just builds and builds and builds and builds. Like, so good.
Oh, I was on the edge of my seat. You would have thought I was like a football fan on Super Bowl Sunday. I was like,
it was really close. It was a close one, maybe.
The other funny thing about Aja is like she had recorded this before season 15 airs. So like she knows she's got this in the bag. Like, so it's like, okay, just you wait, Drag Race fans. Just you wait till you see what I can do. So I thought that was also pretty funny. So ultimately Aja does win here and pulls the lipstick, which the other queens voted Monica, which was also really awkward the way that she said, because she pulled out and she read Monica, Beverly Hills. There's something really awkward about the way she said it. Anyway, that made me laugh. So unfortunately, Monica Beverly Hills is the first eliminated here, as we've already talked about. Let's jump into episode 2. So we are completely switching gears, and we are talking about a comedy challenge here. No mini challenge. The queens are tasked with doing a sketch comedy show, RDR live. So very SNL. Bobby Moynihan shows up again to give some run through tips. And the main thing, the queens are going to be performing their sketches live. So there was sort of a little bit of kerfuffle with who's going to get what role, where Naysha is the only one essentially who didn't end up with the role that she wanted ultimately here. So Beth, what did you think about these performances and this overall challenge?
I want this challenge all the time. I loved this. I loved that there were homages to, you know, SNL sketches with, you know, coffee talk and with like, especially the coffee talk sketch where Madonna actually drops in on them. Because for those that don't know, when Mike Myers and Roseanne,
I thought that was Barbara Streisand who drops in.
Who did I say?
Madonna, who was
Madonna.
Yeah, I meant Barbara Streisand.
Okay,
I don't know why I said
was on Drag
Madonna.
Race?
No, I'm just
Madonna on Drag Race.
oh my god, that'd be such a bigger deal. No, I don't know why I said Madonna was in the sketch.
Yes,
That's what it was. She was
host.
in the sketch, and she was the host. That's who it was. So when they were doing this, Barbara Streisand actually walks in, and for those that don't know, they didn't know that Barbara Streisand was actually going to show up in that sketch. So like their reaction is actually genuine. So to see that be played off when Michelle actually walks in, they're like, "Oh my god, that was really good. Loved that." I want them to do this again. This SNL is such a cultural thing in New York, or not in New York, in the United States. Well, in New York too, but in the United States. And I love that if this is going to be like, hey, we're trying to take cultural things that are popular and just dragify them. This is an easy one that you can replicate and just have different sketch ideas each time. But I don't know, and I'm curious if you guys do know, how much of it was like, this is the script, and how much of it was like, you have to ad lib on top of this?
A lot of it felt like the script, I think.
Yeah, because they said they had a teleprompter, right? Like they said that they were
the news anchors. They had a teleprompter,
okay.
Which makes sense.
That was explicitly mentioned, but yeah, I mean, and then maybe Pussy Jones also had one, but I think everybody else was pretty much off book. But I do think that, I mean, when I look at the CDC skit, like that to me looks all totally scripted.
That was definitely scripted. That was. Oh, boy, was that scripted. That was like
oh my god. Okay, so let's talk about the CDC skit, right? That's the cold open. This is what we jump into. It's Lala Ree, Heidi, Naysha, and James Mansfield. And I couldn't tell if it was because of the character that Naysha was doing that made it awkward. Like I had fun with this overall, but it was like, because the way that the timing of the jokes was just so awkward. It was so off.
It was Naysha and James. And here's the thing, James was better than Naysha, but James was still like, she kept doing this motion with her body. Like, I will now, I'm like swiveling at the hips. My upper body is like a weeble wobble, and I'm just going around talking. I was so distracted.
I thought James was funny.
Well, I mean, it's not that I didn't enjoy everything, but I was like, the timing fell off because I was waiting for, you know, the William Shatner of weeble wobbles to finish this like moment here. I'm going to move like this robotically. And then you have Naysha, who could not deliver a line with the punchline correctly. And I think that just comes down to understanding, like they said, understanding timing, but also understanding like the joke itself. And like, I don't know if she understood the peanut butter joke. Like, did she not know that that's the RuPaul's song? Like, I just, in which
I don't know why she didn't just like sing it.
Peanut. Like that just would have been like so much better if she just turned into like, if she had like a really ditzy like personality like this and just did the lines, and then all of a sudden she was like peanut. Yeah, it just would have been like so much funnier. I'm actually laughing at her doing that.
I kind of felt like that about a lot of the queens in this sketch. Like I enjoyed it for the most part, and I agree with you, Beth. I think that this should be something that they bring back every season. But I feel like a lot of the queens sort of like lacked a general understanding of how to deliver some of these lines. I mean, we saw it explicitly with Kahana. It just, I don't know. Like, obviously, yes, some of the, just looking at the like, if you're just reading the script, some of the jokes are like, okay, this is not that great. But if you deliver it in a way and you dragify it and you dramatize it, it can still be silly and fun. But I feel like a few of these queens just didn't quite understand that, and they were kind of just like reading and being themselves as opposed to like trying to do a comedy show. So I think that Naisha was the worst of it, but I don't think that she was alone at all in some of the execution.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of SNL, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest SNL's fan, especially recent SNL. And so, like, I just don't think, like, I thought the writing matched SNL. Like that.
I had that thought sometimes too. I was like, well,
okay, I can see this being on like actual
SNL.
SNL.
I think the difference is having people who do this professionally versus like drag queens in a sketch, right? I'm with you on that, Liana.
Right.
1000%.
All right, so we close out that one. Then we get Candy Muse, who does the hosting. Oh, but the credits, the like editing under the credits was so cool. It made it really fun, really professional.
Loved that. I loved that. Yeah.
They all looked so good too.
Right.
I was like,
oh, I love that.
It really felt like it. I was like, damn, we need a Ru girl to host SNL real quick. Like, we just had RuPaul a couple of years ago with Justin Bieber. That was such an interesting pair up, but
oh my god,
AJ and the Queen, for real. But yeah, like we need like a little. Who should be the first Ru girl to host SNL?
Jinx.
Either like Bianca, Jinx, or Bob. One of those three has to be.
I think it would be Jinx. If
I
were to
be
pick, I don't know if it. Yeah, just because I think, especially with all the Broadway success as well, I think that's like
she's been on how many talk shows here in and just like the past few. Yeah, I think that she would be. And I also think, like, if I had to choose, I think you would choose someone like a Jinx, a Bob, a Bianca, one of those three. Like, they're winners, that kind of thing. But someone who I think would be really good on SNL, just like a general, is Ginger Minj.
Well, that should be perfect for it. Yep.
Like, just like there's a part of me. I don't know why they don't cast a drag queen as a cast member of somebody who would be really good at that kind of stuff.
I say this every season for literally every show I watch. I'm like, why is there not more drag queens on these shows? Masked Singer, Big Brother, Survivor. I'm sorry, but like, they're just such fun personalities. The Challenge, hell, like you've got all these really anyway. Okay, so Candy Muse is hosting. She wanted the hosting gig. She felt like she had the monologue written all over, and honestly, I thought she did a really good job.
Yeah. When she walked out and she ran out to do the opening monologue, I was like, oh, it's SNL. Like I'm seeing it, I'm hearing it, I'm feeling it. So I think she did a good job. Yeah,
totally. She had really good pacing too, especially given that a lot of that is like clap tracks because there's 4 people in front of her, and it felt like she was riding the natural wave of an actual audience that wasn't there. And I thought that was really impressive. I also thought Kasha Davis kind of stole the show from her as soon as she got on stage. Like, I felt like Candy was overshadowed. And I wasn't mad at that. I liked it. I was like, yes, Kasha, you show Candy up a little bit. You go.
Oh, I would have given her the win. I absolutely would have given Kasha the win from both the sort of interruption of the opening monologue, which I thought was really fun, but then also with the call girl sketch, but she was the like butch. Yeah, what was her character's name? I wish I'd written it down. But
I think like
Barb, yes, Barb, yes. So that was just overall, I thought, a masterclass. I thought she did an outstanding job. I was genuinely shocked when she wasn't in the top.
Agreed.
So
I thought as soon as they announced it, I thought that she was going to win because this is like SNL is like such Kasha Davis. Like, it's like right up her alley.
Yeah. Totally.
Absolutely. I thought I was like, oh, they're gonna make this like Darian and Kasha are in the top 2 Rochester queens, like blah 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 blah, and then like neither one of them were, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It slaps
When
up on the
when he listed off, he was like Candy Muse, Kasha Davis, Darian Lake,
Yeah.
and then he listed off, and then he said somebody else that I was like,
You all are
wait.
in the top.
oh, he said
Yeah.
James Mansfield. I was like, oh my god, these are the tops and the bottoms, and they were like, you are safe. I was like, who the fuck? Why?
Yes. Yeah. No, I know for sure. Okay, well let's talk about the rest of the other two. Well, I guess 3 skits that we have to talk about. So the first one is the McCall Girls Gardening Service, the late night commercial skit. Jimbo, Jessica, and then as we said, Kasha Davis comes in here. Jimbo ultimately wins. And I think, they had part of the walkthrough earlier where they talked about, I think Bobby Moynihan called them the Bert and Ernie. That was an odd
I
comparison.
know. He looked like Newman from Seinfeld. He looked
He did
exactly.
I think it was the facial hair.
Oh yeah, it was the facial hair, and like his hair on top of his head was like not quite a fro, but it was a little. And I was just sat there and I was like, is he doing Newman? Is that what's happening?
Is that what's happening? Well, Aman, what do you think here? Because Jimbo ultimately wins, and we do see Jimbo and Jessica take very different approaches to their character, which allows them to kind of play off of one another.
I think that Robin Thede hit the nail on the head with her critique of, for Jimbo specifically, it was nice to see you sort of ground yourself while Jessica was being a little bit more, elective with a lot of her choices, because then the highs and the lows of the sketch were balanced very well. And I think that was good on Jimbo's part, because, normally Jimbo would be the one that's like, but I think that she was able to sort of like realize, like, oh, let me ride this lower wave a little bit. So I think that it was great. I think that Jimbo did a good job. I don't know if I agree with her winning, but I think that she definitely was in the top for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I thought that she did a really good job. I thought that whole sketch was really good. But I loved Jessica's energy, and I loved also in Untucked when she was like, so you won because of me. Cool. Like, I was like, you better take that. But I don't think they had the chemistry, and maybe it's because rather than talking with each other, they were talking at a camera at different times, that Alexis and Darian had. I felt like Alexis and Darian had much better chemistry with the two of them versus Jessica and Jimbo. And so while I agree with the different levels, I also felt like it did feel like two different entities, not like a partnership. I don't know why. Like, that's just the impression I got.
Well, they're not talking to each other, right?
Yeah,
which is exactly what you said. That there's no real banter back and forth, and it's like, I read a line, you read a line, I read a line, you read a line. Whereas, I do think that most of it was scripted, but the Jersey talk show sketch, the House of Love one, because it was a conversation, you also got the feeling that it was a little bit more conversational with jokes thrown in. So that could definitely be the reason.
Yeah. I think what I'm missing is the nonverbal communication between the two of them. Like, there could have been like a little like touching of each other, or like, hey, it's your line, or something like that, or like that kind of thing.
I mean, in terms of blocking, they're both directly facing forward.
Right.
There was like, you could not have told them that there was another person standing there, right? It's all very, very forward.
Yeah.
Well, let's just talk about the Jersey talk show sketch then, because Darian and Alexis, immediately from when they're assigning roles, sort of already have this banter, have the accent, and really claim these roles. And also, of course, you get the cameo from Michelle Visage. Aman, did you think that because do neither of them end up in the top?
Neither. No. Alexis is safe.
No,
she's in the top.
No, they're all safe because it's Nisha, James, Jimbo, Heidi, and Kahana. Only 5. So despite their witty rapport, neither of them ultimately end up in the top,
which I thought was weird.
I probably would put Darian above Alexis.
Agreed.
It felt like Darian was a little bit more in the element of it all. I thought that it was. I guess I just didn't really enjoy the sketch in general from the writing standpoint, but I think that they were both pretty good, and like having Michelle come in and like give them a little bit more of a zhuzh was fun. The sketch that I was the most excited for, that I was kind of just a touch let down, was the weekend update or the whatever they ended up calling it for RDR Live, the news anchor report. Yeah. I just felt like, I don't know, like that's like one of my favorite parts of SNL, and I felt like Heidi and Lala on paper seemed like they would be great for it, but I don't know, some of those jokes just were not landing the way that I wanted them to land. I'm not sure why.
Well, I thought that half the jokes weren't good. Like they weren't at the level of what we expect from like an SNL weekend update. And I don't know, like I'm going to be honest, I haven't liked Weekend Update in
a while.
decades.
Is it still Michael Shea and Colin Jost?
Yeah. It's literally my least favorite part. When I grew up, when I was watching SNL in like literally like the 90s and such, I loved it when like I loved Kevin Nealon. Like I thought that he was really good. I hated, what's the other guy? Colin. I didn't like him. Whoever that was. But I liked like Seth and Amy and like all those different kinds of people, right? And I loved all of that. But I am not a big fan of the structure of it anymore. Maybe I just think it's played out personally. So, but I felt like they hit the exact way they were supposed to say the jokes. I just don't think the jokes were funny. And I felt like they did a good job with the anchor role. And I love that they created like, there's like this kind of tension between the two of them. Like, I love that. Like, that was cool. But I just ultimately feel like I wouldn't have put Heidi in the top over someone like Darian, or I don't know. That's probably how I'm at.
I thought it was fine.
Or Kasha. Like, I still think Kasha should have been in the top.
Yeah, we'll talk about the 5 that got critiques. I mean, Kahana, like, she didn't even do that bad. I mean, I know she ends up in the bottom and like it wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. So I think that was
was an SNL level of someone coming out and doing, like, I didn't like when they were like, oh, you could have done more with the cat thing. I was like, you gave her the role of it. Like, if you wanted her to act like a cat, then put that in the script.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. Maybe she could have done more, but I think if she was the second worst, let's say, of the night, then I think everybody did pretty well, right? Because to me, I can understand why she was put in the bottom. Also, the drama of the storyline of first winner in the bottom, blah, blah, but yeah, I didn't think that it was like super necessary. But ultimately, yeah. So the 5 queens that get critiques are Naysha, who gets a lot of negative critiques, James, who gets mostly positive, Jimbo mostly positive, Heidi positive, and then Kahana, as I mentioned, they, talked about how it seems like she didn't quite trust the jokes or she wasn't comfortable or something to that effect, with a very clear bottom 2 with Monica Beverly Hills and Kahana here. And then, yeah, Jimbo wins. I will say that top 3, I could see Jimbo and James. I felt like that last spot with Heidi, I felt was a little bit maybe not.
I don't understand James. I thought James was like the safe bottom of that group. That's where I thought she was. If she's in the top over Kasha Davis.
Yeah, I know.
Over Darian.
Yeah. Well, those are the 2 I think I would have swapped in ultimately if I was making the decisions, with Jimbo's the 3rd. But questions.
I would have put James in the bottom over Kahana.
Okay, you just tell us you don't like James Mansfield.
I love James Mansfield. I just didn't like this performance.
You didn't like, what was it? It was the Dr. Fauci character. I just don't remember what the pun name was.
Ouchie.
Yeah. Fauci. Ouchie? Dr. Ouchie?
I think it was
Is that
Dr.
what it was?
I think so. Or was it Dr.
Okay.
I think it was Dr. Ouchie. Something like that.
Let me tell you, though, why Jimbo, I think, was going to win this regardless. Because the lip sync assassin was Nick Pangina, the person who beat Jimbo once, sent Jimbo home, and then won the lip sync here also against Jimbo. What I will give Jimbo in this moment is that, like, at least Jimbo didn't fall over Pangina like what happened the first time when they were on UK versus the World. Jimbo was wearing that like black face kini thing where like could not see a single thing, super tall platforms, and just sort of stumble. I rewatched it last night because I was like, I need to see this. Stumbles over Pangina.
Oh my god!
To the Spice Girls. It's It's amazing. So this is why I think, look, they were like, we've got a comedy challenge. Jimbo's going to excel at this. We can probably fudge Jimbo, giving Jimbo the win, and put Jimbo against Pangina because that makes for good TV. And it did. All right.
It made great TV.
Oh, and Pangina's reaction to her just showing up being like, I'm going to crush you.
Yeah.
Was so iconic.
I loved Jimbo looking at RuPaul and going, really?
Yeah. Are you serious?
Are you serious?
I'll get you, Ru. And your
So
little
good.
dog, too.
Talking about Michelle as the dog.
Yeah, it was so funny. So they do Cyndi Lauper, and I think because the bar is in hell for Jimbo lip syncing, and I was like, shouldn't do that bad, shouldn't fall over Pangina, like I said. But clearly Pangina won this. I mean, Pangina against anybody. Oh my God, her versus Sasha Colby. I need to see that now.
Right now. Stat, pronto.
Stat.
Okay, so she has to win an All-Stars. Pangina does.
And then an All Winners.
And then an All Winners with Sasha Colby. Yes.
Okay.
I'm here for this. Also, side note, she looked so adorable.
Mm-hmm.
When she came out, she was just so cute. I was like, Pangina!
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yes. So Pangina wins, like we talked about, and the group votes for Naysha. We didn't really talk about the vote breakdown on the last week, but we're going to get like what queens voted for Naysha and which queens didn't. And what I'm seeing so far with the trend from episode 1 and what I think we're going to get with episode 2 is that the queens are not worried about voting with a majority. Like we had 4 votes against Darian Lake in the first episode. And I think we're going to get a couple, I don't remember from the Untucked ones, but we're definitely going to get, I know Jessica Wilde doesn't vote for Naysha to be sent home. And I think there were a couple other
Kasha
queens
Davis
as well.
didn't.
Right. So I'm actually really excited about that. This is what gives me hope also with some drama that's going to happen, because I'm really happy these queens are just sort of like, look, I get that there could be a general consensus, but I don't care. I'm voting with what my heart and my gut and my head is telling me to do. So that makes me very excited.
I'm also interested too, because we clearly have an alliance forming. And we've had it mentioned a couple of times with Candy, Heidi and Jimbo.
And then also Heidi and Lala Ree have like another side thing too, which the first 2 episodes, Beth, alliance talk already.
Absolutely. And what's so funny to me, and also this is worrying me from like a quote unquote edgic standpoint, is like sitting back and saying like, we haven't seen Darian and Kasha Davis interact, and they're literally like sisters. Like they are performing together every single week. We don't have that same talk. That worries me that they're not going to make it that far, or that they aren't going to play the same game and, or whatever. I also sit back and I look at some of the other relationships and I was like, it's interesting that, when somebody's about to go home, they're like, she's like my best friend. I was like, well, I didn't see that at all until it was time for Monica to go home, that Naysha and her are very close. And then you have like Jessica and Naysha being like, okay, we're both Puerto Rican queens. We're here for each other, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that could have been part of the story ahead of time. Right.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff worries me if they're not playing up these relationships early, and it's like advantageous, I think, if they're doing it for later. So I'm a little worried about that.
Well, maybe part of the reason why we didn't see it, at least in the main episode, is because of what they've done to rearrange some of the content. Because we see now all of the deliberations and the, pleading your case and all of that is all in Untucked. Yeah. Like completely in Untucked. So that's not in the main episode at all, which is where I think we get a lot of the, how do I feel about this person? What's my relationship with them? So maybe that also.
That's a really good point.
Could cause some, which also was a total whiplash when I watched the first episode, because it was like, where's the deliberation? I want to see the votes. I want to see like, where's the social game? So I thought it was just cut. So at least when it showed up in Untucked, I was like, okay, it's here somewhere, but like
totally.
Yeah, it's annoying. All right. Any looks, I guess, from this? We had it was the Net Gala, which I did like the different interpretations. Like Jimbo had internet. And then we had like Naysha with a little bit more of a literal interpretation of a net. We had 2 butterfly looks, net, butterfly.
Darian was a literal basketball and hoop.
Yes.
I loved that. That was campy as hell. I loved
so
that.
Clever.
Yeah, I loved it.
That.
Yeah.
I have 3 really quick things just that I made a note of that I was like, I have to talk about it. Number 1, Alexis's breastplate was so distracting during the SNL sketch.
Yes, thank you. I wrote that down too.
It was like, if you're watching the video, it was like this the entire time. And then she would like try to tuck it in and it'd come out. It was so distracting. It was like, girl.
I feel like this is like the season of like breastplates.
Breastplates.
It really
It's
is,
like
yeah.
you got Jimbo here, which is going to count for 90% of it, and then all the other girls have like so many big boobs all the time with their looks.
And it's also super distracting when Darian is not wearing a breastplate and has like is able to kind of pull off the more natural looking breasts.
Mhm.
And you have like, this. So that was annoying
Okay.
to me. Number 2, Jimbo burping in
Oh,
the
in confessional.
confessional was so like, they're like, I don't know who's gonna win. And I was like, it was so stupid. I loved it. And then the third thing was I love these fake ass exasperated gasps and sighs from RuPaul every single time a lipstick is shown.
I know.
She's just like, it's like, okay, now I know the camera will pan to me and on cue. It's so good. It's so bad. And I love it. I'm obsessed.
I feel like the
with it.
last time we actually had like a really like genuine reaction was when I think Alyssa got sent home. And
And he was like, that was iconic. And I think that what she's literally trying to do is capture that. But I'm like, okay, but that was real. I don't think you're shocked that Monica Beverly Hills is going
home. Yeah.
Right. Okay, Beth, you got through your 3 things.
I
Aman,
did.
do you have 3 things? Is there anything else that you want to say about these episodes?
No, I'm having a good time. I'm excited to see a lot of these queens come back, and I'm rooting in particular for Darian Lake, and I was rooting for Naysha, but she's gone. Kahana, Heidi, like I really want to see all of these queens do well. So I'm I think it's gonna be a good one. And I think, like you said, like the fact that they're not really willing to like vote with the group, and we're already seeing like a little bit of a rift with Jessica Wilde next week. He's talking about like no one's gonna tell me how to vote. I'm like, yes, that's what we're here for. Finally, by All Stars 8, everyone is getting the damn idea of the program. Okay, so I'm excited for it.
Do you think age has a thing? This is an older cast. Like Candy's the youngest at like 28 years old.
Yeah, she's 20. Heidi and Candy are both 27.
Okay.
Lala Ree is 31. Oh, Kahana is 28. But yeah, I mean, the average age is definitely, I think, older than previous seasons. Certainly.
Yeah, I think that might have a little bit to do with it, Beth. Where I feel like a lot of them have been in this for a while, and they're like, and a lot of them have been coming back after a long time. So they're like, I don't care about like the fans. They were talking to me before, so screw that. Like,
I love
and
it.
the fact that a lot of them don't have a lot of fans. Like, I'm not saying that about all of them, but I'm like, like it's not like we're in a season full of shades, and like it's not all winners. You know what I mean? So I feel like that gives you a little bit more room to be like, I'm gonna do what I want. So
well, and it's something when you grow too, you get more haters, you get more of that like rabid Drag Race fan base. Whereas before, that's something that maybe they didn't really experience before. So regardless of that, I'm happy about it because I think that this is going to actually be a super entertaining season. I think we're in for a wild ride. I'm looking at this list when we're talking about who's going to get eliminated next. Now, of course, next week's challenge is a supermarket ball. So they're going to have to construct a look. Naturally, Lala Ree is the first person I think of in terms of going home. But you know what? She didn't even get eliminated with the bag look. Like, didn't she slay the lip sync and stay?
She stayed.
Yeah,
She stayed.
exactly.
That was the most iconic part of that is that she didn't go home.
Right.
That was the best part. You say construction challenge. I'm worried for Darian. Darian does not have a good track record with the construction challenges.
And I will say, should get red for the Billie Eilish look, the t-shirt
which was
thing.
Deserved to get red
I
for
kind
that.
of disagree. I was like, come on. Like, I know that they want us to like have all these queens like be in like high drag all the time, but like I kind of liked the nod. It shows that she's, still in the pop culture scene of it all. And I was like, she's giving you exactly what you want. She's giving you a current pop star like some of the other queens did. Like, I don't know. I just felt like, I don't know. I was just like, when they were like, it just felt a little bit like not there. I was like, really? Like, I think that she did enough. I do.
I was thinking she was thinking, great, this is where I can throw in my budget outfit and not have to spend too much money on this as I create something else.
Yeah, I get that.
I was just so surprised. I did not have on my bucket list or bingo card or whatever Darien Lake
and Billie
Eilish.
Billie
Eilish. That was not something I ever considered happening ever. So I was like just such in shock. I enjoyed it. Loved it. All right. We're going to be back next week, as I mentioned, to talk about the supermarket ball challenge, which seems to be construct a look out of stuff from the supermarket, I guess. I don't know. It seems like mostly like paper plates and cups and that kind of stuff. I don't know if we're going like full Lady Gaga meat dress style when it comes to supermarket couture.
I love.
But let's see what the queens turn out next week. Okay, Beth, where can people find you on social media? What do you have going on? Anything else you want to say?
You can follow me at AugustaWind11 on all my social media. Right now, I'm just chilling out on my weekly meltdown covering Survivor. So if you're interested in additional content to all the wonderful things you have here, feel free to check us out. But I also, if you're a patron, I was on Survivor Academy a week or two ago. So feel free to check that out as well. Rob and I discussed some tips if you're hoping to get cast of how to play the merge of the new modern Survivor.
And Aman, what about you? Where can people find you on social media? What do you have going on?
You can find me everywhere at Aman Adwin. Nothing going on except Drag Race for right now. But I'm sure Big Brother 25 will be on the horizon. So.
You can follow me on Twitter at Liana RHAP, podcasting about Survivor. Mike and I are going to do the B&B this week. Should be super fun. And then Puya and I are closing out The Masked Singer. We just had the shocking semifinals episode, and then we're going to be moving on to the finals. And then that's all wrapped up. I'm also going to be a guest on the 90 Day Fiancé podcast to cover the finale and the first part of the tell-all. I'm so excited for the tell-all. I can't wait. I think, speaking of drama, I think it's also going to be a lot of drama. I want people to be called out. I like more conflict. My personal life, I want to be as boring as possible. I want to watch other people have drama, and I need more of that in my life. So hopefully I'll have the opportunity to talk about that with Puya for 90 Day Fiancé. That does it for us. If you want to leave your star ratings and reviews for us on iTunes, you can do so by going to robhasawebsite.com/dragrace. We also want to promote the RHAPups feed. So if you're listening to this on the Drag Race podcast, fantastic. But if you didn't know, there's the reality TV RHAPups feed, which this podcast gets posted to, as well as all of the other content that we're doing on reality TV RHAPups. So that's robhasawebsite.com/RHAPups feed. Shout out to the whole RHAP team for all their help behind the scenes. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.